Now, what is also important is that normally on a building, on a floor, and all this kind of rental objects, you normally have a lot of information, a lot of documents, and therefore SAP is providing a total integrated document management solution. Those documents, what can it be? Floor plans, designs, information on projects ongoing, Word documents, Excels, for example, but also contracts, invoices that you have, and pictures. So on a complex, for example, a building, a land, a rental unit, you can link a document together with that object. So when you open, for example, a complex, you will see also directly all those documents linked, and you can open then the invoice or the picture or the floor plan. Now, the integration with AutoCAD is, or SolidWorks, Solid Edge, and others are very important. And SAP is providing a bidirectional interface. On one hand, as you see, you have the SAP screen, and on the other hand, you have an AutoCAD design here. And it's bidirectional, meaning if you change something in the floors or in the building, it will directly update the AutoCAD design, and vice versa. If you change here on the plan, what is most probably, if you change here in the plan, automatically he will update the information in real estate. How is that done? Well, basically you have therefore an additional add-on in SAP. It's called Corasoft, and Corasoft is just converting the data of the AutoCAD into a readable format for SAP. So you see here, Corasoft changes are via AutoCAD are published into a map guide server. That map guide will then storing all those information into a file system, and finally will map it into the architectural view of SAP in real estate. Facility management. We have now created the buildings and the floors. Now, facility management, what is it? Well, finally you check, you maintain, and you repair the buildings or the floors or the rooms. Now we can differentiate different types of facility management activities. We have cleaning. We have, for example, restoration. A floor or a building or a room has to be refurbished. Sometimes it can be that we do some production in those rooms, that we have construction activities, for example, changing a wall or changing a roof. We have different installations. For example, in a room you can install a beamer. So those kind of activities are comprised in the facility management solution. How is that organized? For example, I come back to IT equipment, for example, that you want to install in a room. IT equipment, well, the IT equipment can be a PC combined with a beamer. So basically you have an object being IT material. The equipment will be the PC on one hand, and on the other hand the beamer. And there in the PC you have also different parts of material. You can have a mouse, you can have a screen, and so on. Those are called the bill of materials. In total, the beamer and the PC is the total installation. Now the beamer and the PC is also composed of spare parts. For example, a lamp of a beamer. That is a spare part. So on one hand we have the equipment, and on the other hand we have already defined that a floor or a room can be a functional location. By doing the link between the functional location and the equipment, we know exactly what kind of equipment is where, and that's the most important one. Certainly when later on we will do maintenance. So here you see a screen of creating an equipment, and as we said, we can differentiate different types of equipment, and we call them classes. So we can have, for example, IT material, but it can be fittings, it can be keys, it can be even a vehicle, all equipment that can be maintained. Now we have two types of maintenance, we have planned maintenance, meaning that you know beforehand how many and when the maintenance will happen. I give an example. An elevator should be examined and controlled every year. So every year you will have a maintenance activity, meaning controlling the elevator. But you have unplanned maintenance. I go into a room and I see, for example, that the beamer is not working. Well, I will send then a notification to the maintenance desk saying, in that room the beamer is not working. That is called a notification. So you have on one hand planned, meaning that you know exactly when the maintenance activities will happen, and then you have unplanned. Now for the planned and the unplanned, we are converting the maintenance notifications into maintenance orders. And for maintenance orders, to execute the maintenance orders, we need materials, but we need also internal or external activities. External activities when you let do the maintenance activity by a supplier. Internal when you have people to do the internal maintenance activities. SAP is also giving you a total solution on reporting naturally, so you know exactly when that equipment has had a maintenance activity, what is the total cost of the maintenance activity, where is that equipment used in history. Then you can also see the evolution of the equipment. You can also see the evolution of the maintenance notifications, how many maintenance notifications on a certain equipment, and then you can decide that equipment has already have 4 maintenance activities because it was each time broken. We skip that equipment and we replace it by a new one. So that is also important in order to maintain your costs of maintenance. So normally when I go into a room, I can do a notification. I see a problem with a certain equipment, so I notify back office that in that room, for that equipment, there is a problem. The back office receives that notification finally, and they see, okay, does it happen already in the past? What is the error, for example, and what I can do with it. The back office will convert the notification into a service order or work order. Why? Because back office has to see who can do what and when. They can also directly see into the system who is available to execute that work order. Now for the planned maintenance, that is defined already in a planned maintenance plan. So basically for an elevator, for example, you can say each year I have 1 maintenance activity, meaning the control of the elevator. And there you see also in the screen that you have for each equipment, for each maintenance type, you see the maintenance plan, when it will happen and by whom it will happen. Very important to know. Let's say that next week I have normally a planned maintenance activity, but this week the beamer in that example is broken. I can say, okay, I will let do that maintenance today or tomorrow and skip the maintenance order of the planned maintenance because I've done it already now. So you can also switch and sometimes convert a planned maintenance versus an unplanned maintenance. You have the maintenance plans and you can display that, you can report on that, and you have also the costing naturally of those maintenance plans. And here you see the graphical overview of that maintenance plan per equipment or per room or per equipment group. Now from a reporting point of view, you have different solutions, and it's also comprised in the facility management solution. You have on one hand a lot of standard reports on the maintenance activities, on the notification orders, on the work orders, on the costing side, also on the real estate objects what building, what kind of equipment are sitting in what building. If you want to have a more interactive view, but also combining information of different areas, I give an example. I want to have on one hand all the maintenance orders, all the costing, but also all the information of the supplier. Then you can use business intelligence, which is part of the SAP solution. If you want to go a level higher and say, okay, no, I want to have information but more interactive and more KPI-driven information, and I love it in a graphical way, like the graphics here, for example, and at the bottom, then you can use business objects. Business objects is just taking all those elements or all those key performance indicators, and you combine it in one report. Now, I haven't tackled yet the other domains, but room reservation is also a very important functionality. This solution is providing a total solution for room reservation, going from I need a room for example, 4 persons, but I need also catering. What is my possible list of catering? Lunch, breakfast, coffee, and so on. I need also certain equipment in that room because I need to give a presentation in that room, so I need a beamer, I need a flip chart, so those are the resources I need in that room. And then you can reserve that room for that meeting, and it's also, and what's very important, also totally integrated with your agenda of Outlook. So you identify your meeting, and directly there is a link to the room reservation solution of SAP. That's one. For cable and telecom are identified as equipment. So they're the same activities again in maintenance. For installing, for example, cable and telecom, you identify cable and telecom as an equipment, and you generate a maintenance or work order to install those cable and telecom in a certain room or in the building. Then you have key management, keys. Normally you have keys on each door and so on, but you can also maintain those keys on one hand, and also you can identify who has what key. Batch, the same batch registration, so you have a batch will be an equipment, and you assign that equipment to a person. What is the advantage of that? When the people are entering a company, they receive normally a PC, a badge, and so on. So that is identified, is linked to that person. When the person is leaving, you can directly set up a checklist. He has to enter his badge, his PC, and so on. And there it's also done in the facility management solution. And last but not least, vehicle management. A vehicle is also an equipment, but there are some extra informations possible to enter, like for example the power, the horsepower of that car, if it's gas oil or car, for example, and then the 4 doors, 2 doors, what kind of brand the car has, and also those information is stored as an equipment. And again, you can assign that vehicle or that equipment to a person. So that's very important, that the facility management solution is much larger than only buildings, floors, and rooms. And if you want a real demo, in-depth demo, we are always, it's always possible to organize that in your office, and we are glad to do that. So thank you very much.